What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing something a little bit different. Recently I asked my Discord if they would want to hear my opinions on their mods and the work and kind of give some constructive criticism and feedback to help their mod. Now I really want to stress that I'm no expert on modding and I don't want to come across as I know everything, because I definitely do not know everything and I'm definitely not the best by any means. So I really want to help the community grow and help people really learn modding and help with techniques that I really found helpful when I first started. Now, I will be expressing some constructive criticism, and I want everyone to know that it's coming from wanting to help others and wanting them to be better, and I'll express what I think might improve their work. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Today, first off, we have Sean Bailey's Nissan S15 for ESDA. First off, let's take a look at the description on the credits that were used and maybe some power and numbers. 2000 Nissan S15. Looks like the 3D model was made by ITNM every day. Shout out to the ITNM team. What up? Physics were based on a actual WiseFab kit, so that's pretty cool. Delivery is made by Angle Designs. Looking at the preview, I'm probably gonna be very impressed by the delivery. I mean, I'm already impressed just by looking at that. It looks like the seat was made by Drippy Design. What up, Drippy? Shout out to Drippy there. Car was put together by Cossi Design by KNC Cosmic. Now, numbers wise, we're looking at about 961 wheel horsepower and 1089 Newton meters of torque. I don't know what that is in foot pounds, but probably a lot. Weighing about 1360. So it looks like this is without its paint. Got the Yashio factory wide body kit. Looking pretty nice. Yeah, that paint really just gives it the attitude and the lights. So let's go and take a look in the showroom. So first off, I do want to put it in the default showroom just so we can really get a look at the raw body, put it in its non-livery form, but that way we can kind of get a glimpse of some areas that are hidden by the livery, and just so we can really dissect the build. So we're going to do auto rotate. I'm gonna hit F1 to realign the car. So right off the bat, this kit looks like the only one maybe that's been circling around. I love how there's tiny rivets everywhere. It makes it look more real, and that there's that little flange. Let me go and zoom in a little bit. I love this detail right here. How it's got the little bolts and the flange. I haven't really seen that too much. I mean, granted, I haven't really looked at much kits. It's such a small detail, but it definitely helps really make the kit look real and like actually bolt it onto it. If you're watching this and you don't do it, I really recommend you do it. Even like without the bolts, you can just do just the flange part. You see how it's got the edge on the edge on the very side as well. Like, it's not just a 2D thing, it's actually rounded and curved and chamfered. That way it gives off that lighting, and it reflects off of the edge and makes it look more real. I've seen a lot of people that have just clipped into the body, or I mean, I guess if it's like molded with, like if it's supposed to be a molded wide body, then I can understand it. But if it's something like this where it's obviously detached, then definitely add that flange there. Like, it just makes it look better overall, I think. Look at the front end. Got the sick battle eyes here, dual battle eyes with that projector style headlight. Mishimoto intercooler up front. One thing that I immediately see when I look at this is the whole car is so intense and it's so well made, headlights and everything. The radiator to me is a little bit of an eyesore, mainly because it looks pretty good in terms of modeling wise. Let's go ahead and click on the object, Alt H to remove it. I don't want to, criticize things that are underneath and, there's no engine, blah, blah, blah. But something like this where it's like so in front, like this radiator was very well made. Like, you can see inside here how there's actual texture there. Like, that's really well made. My only, the metal part is fine. My only issue is the actual radiator part. Like, this is just a plane. Typically don't really need these two middle edges. I mean, it's just really unnecessary polys, but there's not that many polys. It's just kind of like I wonder what these two edges are holding. Aside from that, my main concern is the texture. This texture is really nice. Like, this must have been made in Substance Painter, or just a really well made texture in Photoshop or wherever else people make textures. Like, the diffuse map is awesome. If they just took the time, because the normal is just a flat NM. The flat NM is what people use to make glossy, smooth finishes, and like the bump maps it'd be really smooth. But for intercooler, I would really recommend to take this diffuse mat, right? Take this, maybe just mask off this area so you don't get all of this as a bump. Like it'll just be nice and glossy, but just do a normal map on the actual radiator fin part, and that way you get that depth within the fin, so it's not just like a flat. Like you see how it has a sheen to it. The undercoat is really well made. Just that one texture, like you can have a really good model, but if you have a really shitty texture, or like a really, like if you're missing some components in your shaders, it's gonna bite you in the ass a little bit. You know, as I said, I don't want to just sit here and bash on it. To improve it, I would put a normal map on here matching the diffuse instead of a flat. So just a normal map on the fins. That's all. So moving on from the front, we got the 720 wheels, I believe is the brand name. 720 wheels, the nice 7-spoke design wheel, and these look to be the nicer versions. I know there's like the not so nice, and then there's these ones. These are the nicer ones. They actually have lug nut holes, really well made. Like you can see the, oh my, you can even see the little grip things on the lug nuts. Like that is some detail right there. And I love the center cap. Look at that. Look at that detail. This is really well modeled. You love to see it. You really love to see it. You got the valve stem as well. Stuff like this, like you even got the little like wrench part on the bottom, circular part, the top. Like this is exactly what a valve stem would look like in real life, which is awesome. Now I did notice that it's got full wise fab models and everything. Let's take a look. Oh, check it out. So what they did was they got those tie rod ends and all the struts and everything to move. That's a really nice touch for sure. I actually haven't really been able to, or like really mess around with active steering or animated steering, so it's really cool to see it in the works. And it's such a small detail, but when you're at lock and you know you got some pictures and stuff, you can see this thing extending out, or even in videos, and it's really cool to see it follow it instead of just being static. Just a nice little touch. Moving on here from the wheels. So brake, real quick. I really like this rotor design. It's got that like lightweight version, really race car feel. Cool touch. Good choice. Got some race smears. Go to the back real quick. Right away, you can kind of see through the car from this angle. This is a pretty common angle to take pictures at, kind of like low 3/4 from the rear especially. Pull out those black linings all the way to the edge of the fender. That's a big reason why you want to have this edge pulled in, is that we can tuck this black liner that is facing us. So if they just pulled this edge closer to the edge, the black edge closer to the fender edge, then that would pretty much like block the view and then can't see through the car. Because that's not there, the normals are facing the other way, so we can pretty much just see through this wall here. I can understand like this back part, because this is all just like exposed and whatnot. Just this maybe front part could just use a little pull, roll and pull action in the fender lining. You know what I'm saying? I love this exhaust tip. This exhaust tip is like it's got aggressive angle to it, got an aggressive poke out, got some nice, very nice AO mapping. Texture is nice as well. Shaders is really good. This back bumper is really nice as well. I like these slits. Got the fans going in the back. Let's take a look. Go here, fans, yes sir. Do notice that the fans are a little off pivot. This one's actually good, but this one's just slightly off pivot. 3DS, or I don't know if Blender has the feature, but effect pivot point and then just center to the fan, and that should be good. You do have the diff back here and all its goodies. That diff, I don't know if it's showroom or not, but that diff is very shiny and bright. I wonder if maybe like the diffuse or some sort of specular shader was just really bright. Yeah, what I would have done was click on here and then recalculate AO and apply this over the texture. It already does kind of have its own AO, so it might kind of wash out all the detail, but it will kind of like help make the diff look more in place. You see how it's just so bright? Or even just reduce the diffuse or ambient values in the shaders. The whole WiseFet kit looks really nice though, for sure. Like you see how it's all like it's darker and it's got an AO on it. This looks to be more properly AO'd from under the car. This might have been AO'd in like 3DS or, you know, not inside the car directly. So yeah, just final points. I would maybe just recalculate AO on the diff and then reapply that, and that way it's a little bit more fitting. Back, we got some nice carbon fiber. Now immediately I do notice these braided lines being a little bit uneven on the UV mapping and how much UV space they're taking. Let's take a look. So braid. Okay, that's what I was thinking. So all the braids just have this generic texture that's 400 by 400 applied. Now if the braids aren't like UV mapped at all, which I'm thinking that this is what happened just because there's weird stretching, then it'll do this. It'll kind of like try to fit the texture over what it thinks it's taking up, or how much space it thinks it's taking up. Simple fix, 3DS, just go into the UV editor and then flatten mapping. That's the quick and dirty way of it. It will probably break apart the lines and be really like all over the place, but it will just kind of make all the braiding nice and even and same size, right? They got a nice radium fuel cell. I would like to see an AO on this just because it is kind of tucking in under here. Typically this back piece would be a little bit darker. And then at the bottom of here, underside of the piping, this one looks to be kind of a flat. Yeah, I mean, they did do multi-map, except I guess that works. So if you do a generic white, you're just telling it that there's no shadows anywhere. A flat NM will just tell it it's just all glossy, smooth. A map will just say everything is glossy and will do the same amount of gloss. And then the detail will give it that carbon. And they probably did a detail multiplier to multiply that carbon texture. With an area as exposed as this being like directly visible, in game it probably won't look too bad, but when you start looking at in pictures or like showrooms, you'll just kind of notice that you know, colors may seem a little on the flatter side. There's not too many shadows and contrast. So if you have the time and you know, energy, of course, UV mapping is very tedious and annoying. For sure, it's not fun at all. I think it's super worth it to really spend some time in here, especially with all this detail. Like once you do all the UV mapping and everything, like this area will look really good for sure. Yeah, let's go on the inside. Right away, this steering wheel is crazy looking. It's sick. Wolfpack minty fresh with that like little dragons on it. I like it a lot. And a little ghost with the horn. That's sick. Got the NRG Prisma, the Sakura editions. It looks sick. Well made by Drippy. Good job, good job. Alright, so all carbon dash. Got a digital dash here. What is happening here? Holy lordy. Okay, what they probably did here was they made this dash and then they had a hole here. And then so they had to select these edges and then cap it. And then it triangulated. Because now, as you can see, it's you know, stretching and kind of meeting at this point here. Yeah, so they really like to do this generic white as the diffuse. It's not the biggest deal. I mean, it is front and center, right where the driver is looking, which is why a lot of times I would focus a lot of my time on this area, just because it's, you know, right in front of your face. If you're driving cockpit view, you know, everywhere else it's not the biggest deal. I feel like this dash was mapped. You can see how even the carbon is on the dash. It's actually really well UV mapped up until here, so this might have been plugged. I think this was probably the stock S15 dash and then, you know, modified to plug this hole. Yeah, which is kind of tricky because then you have to add this part to the mapping, which could get kind of weird. But if you can, I would probably just try to maybe grab this area and then just map it. Just do a planar map facing this way, and then just add it to the dash map. And then for the love of baby Jesus, let's go ahead and not use the multi-map generic white. Let's get some sort of AO on there. That way you can kind of you get some shadows and everything. Holy, look at this shifter though. Wow. I like it. So right away I noticed these welds, right? And then all these bolts and all this detail here. But then when you look closer, it's actually a really low poly object, which is really cool. I mean, it's really well mapped, textured, like the welds, the this must have been taken from an actual picture of one of these shifters. And these looks like it's just cylinders with the texture of a spring there, which is really resourceful. Because a spring, a spring with tight coils like this, I think I made one and it was like 15-20K on polys not triangulated on just a spring. So you can imagine how much that will become once it's triangulated. Probably like 40-50K on just that. Definitely a good choice to do a texture there. Yeah, from like driver view especially, like when you get up close obviously you can tell that it's a picture, but from here it's a good look. You can see the welds. So it looks like this handbrake is just clipping through part of the dash here. It would be nice just to see this part cut out. Got a nice dimpled chassis with all the little imprints and whatnot. So it looks like they use a bunch of booleans. It's a good technique. I mean, it's quick and easy. When you do a lot of booleans, the main issue that I'm thinking of is that everything becomes really small triangles, like really skinny triangles. So like even here, this is really small triangles. Black material like this, like it's fine, but you can kind of see some of the angles and some of the distortions that get created. It does multiply your poly count quite a bit. That's my 2 cents about it. Overall, well-made chassis. I like it. It's a roll cage. Okay. So it looks like they just use a aluminum diffuse texture. They also did do a detail for Alcantara. All right. Now, because this car is encrypted, I can't see the exact shader settings and whatnot. Just flatten the mapping, flatten the map, flatten the shit out of it, pull the AO, the detail, put the aluminum on the detail, and then in the multi-map settings, if you just do use detail and then UV multiplier, and that way you can get like a nice brushed aluminum, a flake, whatever you want to do. Cages are kind of tough just because they're so circular. Sometimes they do end up splitting random places and you'll get shadows kind of like in a weird spot that you don't want to. So it does kind of take some finessing to do. It is a really cool little cage though. Like very thought out. I wonder if this is based on a real cage. It's got the actual welds too, which is cool. You see the welds here. They're not exactly, what I'm saying? They're not exactly attached. I don't think this cage would hold up an actual crash. But you know what I'm saying? It's a game, so we good. We good on that. Yeah, so maybe just kind of push those welds in, especially at like this angle. You can kind of see it's not really attached, but push those welds in, just kind of tighten it up a little bit. With welds, especially, you can kind of just clip it through. Like there's no harm in that, especially because welds themselves in real life is just bonding metal together, so it don't matter. That's about it for this car. I know I kind of talked for a while on this video, but I really do want to give my honest opinion for people's cars and try to help the build in any way that I can. I already said in the beginning, don't take any of this personally, or I just don't want to come off as that kind of person, so take it with a grain of salt. If any of these points you think, hey, maybe that would be better, by all means, I'm glad I could help. If none of these seem like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal, then it's not a big deal. Overall, really good build. Let's go ahead and take a look at this car in a better showroom. Do you want to look? Oh, hold up, we gotta look at the flake. Oh, holy moly, look at that. Okay, let's look at the flake real quick. Look at that. Oh, that's a nice paint. I really like this color. Like, I know it's just like a generic whatever paint, but for some reason I kind of like it's like a jade. This showroom with this paint, oh, she looking nice. Wow, very nice. Yeah, that looks sick. I like it, man. I like it. It's a good build. It definitely shows that a lot of people worked on it. It is good that a lot of people worked on it. I'm glad that a lot of people worked on it, just because you have a sick ass paint. You probably have some really good physics, good modeling, good execution of putting it all together. Good job, good job to the everyone that made it. You got I10 every day, Angle, Drippy, Cosmic. Good job to everybody there. We're gonna end this video here for today. It did run a little bit longer. It might just be one car per video. I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of going with how it turns out. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, smash that subscribe button. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, for sticking through all this. Join the Discord, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Instagram. You know the deal. Peace out.